to another word of Gord. Tonight it's poetry show number 2. And I have assembled a number of fine poets for you to hear and muse upon. I think we'll start out with some political verse, and then we will move into the realm of lyrical meditation and a little bit of intellectual analysis also. Because I believe that if a poet writes prose, it is inevitably poetic. So, let me entertain you. The first poet this evening is a contemporary Canadian poet, Jim Smith. And I'd like to read his poem, Playing Golf with the Colonels, from his book, Back Off, Assassin! A very relevant modern title, I think. Playing Golf with the Colonels. Somoza cheats. When Duarte and I aren't looking, he wedges several human teeth into the green. This allows a roll to the right and an extra stroke. Somoza wants to prolong the game. Duarte claims first shot at the caddy. I have to convince them not to lead an assault directly on the hole 18 from hole 3. They are impatient for total domination of the field. Each spectator wears sunglasses, fatigues, and a throat mic. We chat about the stockholders and discover that we all attended the same high school. It was full of unusually cruel boys who dragged us all into the washroom and tried to cut our hair. We all had vowed never to be in that position again. Somoza cannot see the ball clearly. An aide leaps from the gallery, detonates a landmine, and a few seconds later it is a clear shot. Duarte turns to me and complains, stating he would have just hired someone to carry the ball into sight and then disposed of him. He is a subtler man. He has earned a reputation for seeking innocence through the admission of guilt. I begin to worry because it is he who has promised to pay for lunch. Enjoying the music? I am too. David Darling on cello, and for the moment I can't quite remember the piano player, but I will get it. Now, more politics. Leonard Cohen, 1972. The volume is called The Energy of Slaves, and it was something of a turnaround from his much earlier, much more lyrical love poetry. And it was something of a shock to the coterie of Cohen fans at the time, me being one of them. So, The Energy of Slaves. You went to work at the UN and you became a spy for a South American government because you cared for nothing and you spoke Spanish. That was several years after we made love in the honey air of autumn Montreal. Athens was beautiful in the old days. The drugstores were free. We knew 10 great cities by heart. Death to the powers who have destroyed the style of travel. Let them stutter their bland secrets over your long legs and tall fingers. Let them have your wooden love. Death to the vanguard. Death to the junta. Death to the passport control. You like that last line? Death to the passport control? Relevant, is it not? Yes. Another one. Each man has a way to betray the revolution. This is mine. And on the opposite page, one of the lizards was blowing bubbles as it did push-ups on the tree trunk. I did push-ups this morning on the carpet, and I blew bubbles of bazooka last night in the car. I believe the mystics are right when they say we are all one. Now, an old favourite, Richard Brautigan, wildly famous American writer of the 60s and 70s. One of his last books, volume of, shall we say, poetic short stories, called The Tokyo Montana Express from 1980. One of my all-time favourites, I must say. And this one's called Clouds Over Egypt. A train is travelling from Cairo to Alexandria. It is a blue sky, white cloud day in Egypt. I am watching the train on television here in California, a long way from the Middle East. Why do Egyptian clouds catch my attention as I look at the train? These are the first clouds I remember seeing in weeks or maybe months. I just haven't been paying attention. When did I stop? The train is carrying the President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, and the President of Egypt, Anwar Sadat. They are trying to find peace between Egypt and Israel. It's somewhere out there in the desert. While they are doing this, I am watching clouds and trying to figure out what they mean to my life. We all have our roles in history. Mine is clouds. Another famous poet, Frederico Garcia Lorca. He has many political poems, written in the 1930s in Spain, 1920s, 1930s. But as I looked through this selection, this New Directions selection from the early 70s, the ones that caught my eye were more lyrical. So let us move into lyricism. All poets who are political can also be lyrical and loving and mystical. This is called It Is True, and it is translated by Harriet de Onis. I apologize if I've pronounced that incorrectly. Oh, what an effort it is to love you as I do. For love of you, the air, my heart and my hat hurt me. Who will buy of me this ribbon I have, and this grief of white linen to make handkerchiefs? Oh, what an effort it is to love you as I do. Another one, Madrigal to the City of Santiago, translated by Norman Di Giovanni. It rains in Santiago, my sweet love, white camellia of the air. Shadowy shines the sun. It rains in Santiago in the dark night. Grasses of silver and of sleep cover the empty moon. See the rain in the street, lament of stone and crystal. See the vanishing wind, shadow and ash of your sea. Shadow and ash of your sea, Santiago, far from the sun. Water of ancient morning trembles in my heart. Thank you, Frederico. Now, a reasonably well-known poet of British origin, Spike Hawkins. He's still writing now. This is from a book from I think 1967. It's called The Lost Fire Brigade. Some amusing short poems. West 11. Rain after hot sun, filling my Stetson with limp petals. My cycle clogged with mud, too tired I go home, leaving my lance stuck in his harmonica. Now, you might know from the recent biography of Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd founder Syd Barrett. The author, I believe his name is Chapman, has done his research and found that Syd Barrett was chumming around with some British poets in the mid-60s in London, and Spike Hawkins was one of them. A little point of cultural history that I find very interesting. Here's another one by Spike called Excitement. Smells like cigarettes can be enjoyed in bed. It depends on how you like your ornaments tonight. With tickets for all the flights, I lie down to sleep, little with night. Eyes breaking into brittle animals. And we moving along now. We are, we us, we is, we will be. Kenneth Leslie, an almost unknown Canadian poet from the 1930s, and a Canadian publisher. Has put out, Porcupine's Quill that is, has put out a collected selection of his, of his work called The Essential Kenneth Leslie, giving us an education in old Canadian poets that are now forgotten. And I've found a couple here that I really enjoy. And thank you to Zachariah Wells for doing the fine editing job on this. The Word had need of flesh. The Word had need of flesh. A theological point, I suspect. Though my soul without control die beneath its yoke of dust, yet the Word had need of flesh. So there's reason in my lust. Aesthetize, anesthetize, anesthetize. Oh dear, I knew I'd get that wrong. Sorry. Aesthetize, anesthetize. I did it again. One is mine, the other fog. Propriety, licentiousness. Two names, but the same old dog. The good soil is corrupted, and deadly clean the snow. Pull the root of the wormy fruit, and where will the fine fruit grow? Another lyric. Sorrow must sing. The tale of sorrow is not reckoned well in anchored words. It must upsail and go with thick-voiced winds upon the rhythmic swell of deep-sea music, and each word must know more than it knew before. The dismal hold of this weed-destined bark may hint yet hide the utter hopelessness that would be told. So in the telling some strange hope may bide. Yes, in the telling, in the setting forth, there shall be snow-white sails and rainbow gleams upon prow-broken waters. The lost north must shine at least within our wilful dreams. For sorrow is a living, learning thing, and breaks our hearts, which broken hearts must sing. Peter Porter, British poet, and his book Better Than God. Indeed, Peter, indeed. He starts out with a little, well, it doesn't start out, I shall start out, this is in the middle of the book, a small comment to the famous American poet John Ashbery. In the end, aren't you a bit pissed at living in the world's most powerful country? Wouldn't you rather, like the late Roman poets, coruscate in the margins of a worn-out empire? Or is it better to watch the selvage fray of a homeland with a retail future? It's the close-ups which matter, I'm sure you'd agree. So sickening, so beautiful, such filigree. A little bit of cultural jousting there between the Brits and the Yanks, I'd say. Now, George Bowering, one of my favourite Canadian poets and critics and historians. This is from his book Errata, which is critical pensées, I would say. 1988, I see. And George's criticism and essays are, in my mind, just as poetic as his poems. Some poets, such as Valéry, say that importuned gods or music supply us with a first line, and that we must then call on our poetic skill to supply as good a one as possible, to resemble it. The poem is then the result of a collaboration and keeps adding up to what it will be, a padded inspiration. In a poem called Flowering Death, John Ashbery wrote, "We must first trick the idea into being, then dismantle it." Yes, there is a type of chic cynicism there, but also a modesty that becomes the serious poet. The metaphysical poet knows that his own mortality limits his poem to physical procedures. When Ashbery speaks of tricking the idea into being, he says that poets do not write to lyricize the ideas they already possess, and that their skill is musical or witty, in other words, seductive or charming. But only the dismantling of the idea can make the poem or the idea live. Jefferson, for that reason, called for a revolution in every generation. Yes, George. I hear you. Some quatrains by Rumi, ancient Persian poet, translated by John Moyne and Coleman Barks. We're confused as lovers always are. You walk in and out among the confusions unaffected, but anyone trying to follow you will be confused. The sun coming up brings clear wine air. Being sober is not living. Listen to the longing of a stringless harp. Stand watch over this burning. You come closer, though you never left. Water flows and the stream stays full. You are a bag of musk. We are the fragrance. Is musk ever separated from its scent? Secrets try to enter our ears. Don't prevent them. Don't hide your face. Don't let us be without music and wine. Don't let us breathe once without being where you are. I planted roses, but without you they were thorns. I hatched peacock eggs, snakes were inside. Played the harp, sour music. I went to the 8th heaven. It was the lowest hell. Thank you, friends. Be well until next time. I salute you all, wherever you are. God in his many blessings, God in his many guises, bless you.